Let me see. Okay, let's see. Peter, do you see the Fed failing to create inflation as a measure of last resort, reinstate the gold standard, and maintain the U.S. reserve currency? Look, if I was advising Donald Trump, and I have mutual friends with Trump, and I've sent some texts say, hey, I'm willing to talk to Trump. I doubt he's going to take me up on my offer. If he actually wants to do something that's right with the remainder of his term, which he's out of here, beginning of next year, unless maybe he declares martial law or somehow suspends the elections because he's now, considers himself a wartime president. So maybe he can find some way to suspend the elections. I don't know, so he can stay in office. That may be better than letting Biden in there. Who knows? But assuming it's a peaceful transition and he actually steps down when his term is up and we have Biden. But if he wants to do something between now and then, yeah, we need to go back on a gold standard. We need to, hopefully we still have gold in Fort Knox. Look, we have to let the bubble deflate. We have to let companies go bankrupt. We have to let capitalism work. Free market capitalism didn't cause the problem, but it's the only thing that can solve it. But it isn't a pain-free solution. Politicians have to level with the public for a change, something they've never done, which is why I don't expect it. They have to say there is no free lunch. The government doesn't have anything. We've been lying to you for years. We've been making promises that we couldn't keep. Social Security is bankrupt. Medicare is bankrupt. You're on your own. That's what they need to say. We need to clean house. Trump promised to make America great again. If he wants to do that, he has to understand why America became great in the first place. And we became great because of our people, not because of our government, because we had a limited government. We were a free people, rugged individuals. We had government taxes and regulations. None of these labor laws existed. And we created the richest society in the history of the world. Government destroyed that society. We've been bankrupt for a while, and now we're gonna realize that. So yes, and I think that there is so much potential in this country if we do the right thing. And we have a lot of technology, we have a lot of infrastructure, we have all sorts of science and capital that we didn't have 250 years ago. So if capitalism worked as well as it did in the 19th century, it'll work even better in the 21st century. We could create the wealthiest country the world has ever seen in our lifetimes if we do the right thing. Unfortunately, we're not going to do that. We're going to become a totalitarian society. We're going to adopt all the policies that have failed all over the world, the socialist policies that have never worked. Instead of going back to what made us great, we're going to go back to what made other countries impoverished. That's what's going to happen. All right, let me go to the next question here. I wonder, how many people are watching this? I can't see it. I have no idea. Do you know?
10,000.
We got 10,000 people. I don't know if that's a lot or a little. We should have more people. But 10,000 is not bad. But tell your friends, next time I do it, I want to have 100,000. Everybody tells everybody else, we get more and more people. I said, I know some kid, does a YouTube video reviewing a toy and he gets 1 million views. So we should be able to get, 100,000 people that are interested in what's happening as the economy is completely imploding. But anyway, this question says, hey, Peter, I have some credit cards, but I also get some cash and I've been stacking metals. Knowing that the banks and the dollar is going to collapsing, is paying off credit card debt, take credit card debt in the first place. The one debt that nobody should pay off is student loans. Especially now, they have a moratorium on interest payments. So you can put your student loans into, forbearance or whatever they call it, where you don't have to make payments because there's no reason to make any payments. It's possible that you'll never have to make a payment again. The government said they're going to suspend the interest. They may never reinstate it. This may be it. We may have already canceled the student loans de facto. But if they're not canceled, they'll be inflated away. So if you pay any of your student loans, you're a complete fool. Just don't pay anything and take the money that you would have used to pay off your loans and buy some silver or buy some gold, right? And if you're going to go to college, don't pay cash. You're a fool, right? I mean, somebody actually asked that question, Elizabeth Warren, somebody who had saved their money and paid for his daughter to go to college so she wouldn't have to graduate with debt. He said to her, what about me? I mean, if you forgive all the student loans, I mean, I had a neighbor who didn't save anything, took vacations, bought new cars, and so his daughter had to borrow money to go to college. If you forgive those loans, am I going to get my money back for paying cash for college? And she said, of course not, right? So if you do the right thing, you're going to get screwed. So the moral hazard is don't do the right thing, right? So don't pay for college, right? Let the government pay, or inflation pay for it, whatever. But I feel the same way about paying down a mortgage. If you have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, at below 4%, I would not be in a hurry to pay that off. I would be much more inclined to do something with the money. In fact, I like paying really good dividend-paying stocks, because if you have good dividend-paying foreign stocks that aren't going to go out of business, where the dividends are relatively safe, the dividends will help you pay your mortgage. So you'll get some cash flow to be able to pay that low mortgage. But I'm not a big fan of this high-yielding debt, even though a lot of credit card debt is non-recourse. I mean, or they can't really sue you. But if you have substantial financial assets, potentially they could. But hey, they just announced today a moratorium on evictions. So if you don't pay your rent, your landlord can't evict you. So I think a lot of people are going to stop paying their rent. That's the moral hazard of these programs. And who knows, maybe they'll never allow eviction ever again. So people will never pay rent again. So now what does the landlord do? I mean, look, we are opening up a can of worms, right? This is going to be horrific. We are just unraveling, it's like dominoes of mistakes, one after another. One mistake causes another mistake, which causes another mistake. And the deeper we get into this, the more mistakes we make. I don't know if, there was a movie about this guy, Rick Leeson, who was a trader in Singapore that worked for Barings Bank that eventually went bankrupt, was sold for $1. The movie is entertaining. I forget the name of it. It's a good movie. You may probably check it out on Netflix. But this guy made a bad trade betting on Nikkei futures. And I think he was long and the market went down. And he had a loss, but he didn't want to admit it. So he buried it and he kept trading, hoping to trade his way out of it. And the losses kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the more he tried to trade out of it, the bigger the losses got. And then, of course, the losses were so big at a point, you might as well go for broke, which is exactly what he did. And he bankrupted the bank and ended up going to jail. But this is what we're doing. We're kind of like, we're making a mistake that compounds the last mistake. And so instead of admitting the mistake, we just make another, and we know where it's going. Executive Order 6102. What is that? Someone's asked me about Executive Order 6102. I don't even know what it is. Confiscation of gold. Oh, the confiscation of gold. Yeah, I don't think that that's going to happen again. People have to remember that when Roosevelt confiscated gold, they didn't confiscate it, right? They didn't send government troops to people's houses to get their gold. They passed a law that said if you have gold, you got to turn it in. Most people did not turn in their gold. That's why those old coins still exist, because the coins that were turned in were melted down. So the old coins that we have are from people who broke the law and kept their gold. But in any event, the reason I don't think we're going to do it again is because we were actually on the gold standard. And in order to do what Roosevelt wanted, he had to devalue the dollar. So before he devalued the dollar and made the dollar worth less, he wanted everybody to turn in their gold, because he knew that after the devaluation, the gold would have much more value. And so he got the people that turned in their gold before they made it more valuable. So the people who didn't listen to the government, made out. They had a gain. But today, we're not on a gold standard. They don't need to confiscate gold. The dollar has no value, so they don't have to devalue it. They just depreciate it. They just print as many as they want, like we just announced. Trillions and trillions are being printed. We couldn't do that under a gold standard, which was a good thing, which is why I like a gold standard. But that's also why politicians don't like a gold standard, because it stands in the way of them doing some, trying to give people something for nothing. So they don't need to take our gold. Now, the reason they may want to take our gold in the future is if they have to go back on a gold standard and we don't have enough gold to back our paper, they may try to do it. But if they're going to seize gold, maybe they're going to seize other assets too. Maybe they're going to seize stocks. Maybe they're going to seize real estate. Who knows what they're going to seize, right? And the thing is, your gold is the hardest stuff to find. If they want to seize your stocks, They know exactly where those are.